Hey. Well, hello and welcome to our Subconscious Speaks. My name is Don Robert,
I'm Tina Orlando.
and together we are Tina, Orlando, and Dawn.
Hmm.
Just in case you haven't met us before, we're both award-winning, top of our class graduates and are clinical hypnotherapists and, of course, honor graduates from our beloved Hypnosis Motivation Institute that's located here in Tarzana, California. Tina and I are kind of near each other, but we both live in Southern California where the school is located. And if you're first time here, welcome. We're going to be discussing all things conscious and subconscious and anything in between. So we invite you to come hang out. New episodes will drop weekly. We encourage you to remember to like, follow, and subscribe for more. And somebody had asked me, Tina, how do we get in touch with you? So I'm going to, in the show notes, I'm going to put Tina and my websites. So that's the easiest way to get a hold of us, to look us up and see what we're up to, where we specialize, et cetera. And then our contact information, there's information there. So, Tina, today, let's talk about inner child. And so I will start off by saying this has profoundly changed my personal experience. Having gone through I still remember the first class. This is a certification class that our beloved imagery master instructor and practitioner, Cheryl O'Neill, taught. And my partner, Asia, and I, still friends. By the way, Asia's artwork. I'm a big fan of Asia's artwork. Faldon. She and I were paired up, and she had the most impactful moment just during practice about a healing process of her own inner child, which dotted line led to her kind of shifting, changing, and rearranging her thoughts around becoming a mother. And
Hmm.
she is now the very proud and loving partner and mother to a 3-year-old. It's just amazing what the power of the work that we do. So I just kind of want to first give Cheryl a nod because we love her. I haven't approached her yet to be on the podcast, but we're saving her up. So Tina,
Absolutely.
that's what I want to kick off with Cheryl. That she teaches imagery and very much so the Capistinian models of hypnotic modalities. So let's go. Let's talk inner
Let's
child.
go. Let's
What comes
go.
to
Inner
mind?
child.
Yeah.
We inner child. That I mean, every so first and foremost, like everybody has inner child. Everybody has some work they have to do with their inner child. I don't care if you have the best parents on the planet.
Mm.
It does not matter. That is not what we're talking about.
Hmm.
um it does matter. There's a piece of you that is a child, right? And there's always something about us that is slightly wounded. Otherwise we're walking around perfect, and I haven't met anybody. Have you?
I have
Yeah.
not. I
Yeah.
have met a few people that think they are.
Oh, well, of course, those are my favorites.
Those are
i
my
love
people.
I love them. I love them. But
Know-it-alls.
yeah, well, but some of us have, a lot of woundedness that didn't even come from our parents. So it comes
Yeah.
from our environment. It comes from friends. It comes from experiences. It can come from the schoolyard, the playground, the teachers. It comes down to perception also. As a child, we perceive things differently than we
Mm.
would as an adult. And that wounded inner child forms really core beliefs of what they are, who they are, and what's going to happen. And um, the thing about the wounded child, though, is that it holds the key to relationships, intimacy, energy, just your physical energy in your life. Um,
Yeah.
and your creativity sometimes
Mm.
gets really blocked. Creativity can, change the way you perceive the world. Like maybe you're walking around in that 9 to 5 job, But in reality, you really want to be an artist,
Right.
but you're too wounded to be the artist. So the
You
work
know,
is important.
you've said so much that I'm like connecting
Sorry.
with and I want to comment on, but the first thing I want to kind of go backwards from is what I hear you talking about is what just gave me the thought for our next episode. Uh, that, I think what you're talking about is finding your purpose, right? And I think this is really kind of step one is you've got to clear away the wreckage, the harm, the deep-seated
Slates.
beliefs of I'm not
Hmm.
enough.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not loved. I am
Yeah.
not like all of those negative affirmations that we walk around with.
Well,
Sorry.
absolutely. No, 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 it's fine. No, no. I was just going to jump in there and say,
Yeah.
though, that's where the perception comes from. Because what if you have parents that love you more than life
Yeah.
itself, but yet you're still wounded and feel like nobody loves you?
Mhm.
Like, so you have to keep it in perspective, and only through that work do you
Yeah.
get the perspective of, yeah, my parents loved me, but I was still wounded by, you know, Tom's actions or Jenny's actions or whoever. Or even if your parents did something, you could have work that out in your head as a negative instead of what they truly meant. So it's
Right.
on you to be the responsible adult to help that wounded child. It's not, let's go back and blame everyone. This is about accountability again for
Right.
you and for your wounded child. It doesn't discount your feelings or your parents or the
That's
people
right.
around you.
Yeah.
It's important to remember that in doing that work, because there is a lot of fear and anger that comes up.
I'm so glad that you brought it outside of the home, right? Because
Mm.
when people, I think, first hear about inner child, they immediately connect that to the parent
Yeah.
experience. And while there's certainly opportunity and there's plenty of people that have been injured in the
Hmm.
family, right?
Sure.
Mentally and physically.
Hmm.
But this is bigger than that. It reminded me of like when we were talking about suggestibility and the different stages of which it's not just from when we're born into the first 5 or 10 years that are the most impressionable. It's then the early adolescence, the teenage years, the high school and college years, the young adult. I mean, it's still happening.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Right.
the
It's
good
just,
news though, right?
yeah.
That if you can still pick up new thoughts and habits and ways of believing, that means they can be changed and rearranged and reframed.
Hmm.
How wonderful
Perception.
is that? There is
Well,
healing
there
possible.
is. There is.
Inner child
Absolutely.
healing is real. It's one
Yeah.
of my
Yeah.
favorite things to do with a client, especially if I'm lucky enough to hear some of that in a consultation. Like I was doing a consult yesterday, and this client was interested in all the things that I love to do, right? The anxiety, the stress, and then there's some obsessive thinking going on, and then she's an open-minded person, so she's kind of on her own out there grasping for modalities, thoughts, and like she's open to hypnosis. Obviously, she's talking to me, but she wants to explore her past lives.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
looking for the deeper pattern,
Right.
right, of
Right.
what I call our the picker, right? You're when you've
Yeah.
got a generational kind of past life picker issue because of this inner child work that hasn't been done until that's healed, you're still going to be that same type of magnet attracting we call it a bad picker, but it's really your energetic magnet that's
Hmm.
attached to the body that holds the trauma of this injury or
Hmm.
injuries. Um,
Injuries. Right.
yeah.
Well, once you experience those injuries, right, then you develop, coping mechanisms and defense mechanisms, and the coping mechanism of shame and guilt.
Hmm.
So you hide and you feel guilty. And then you have a defense mechanism of projection or negative bias. Um, and really, what you're trying to do in there is survive, fight, or flight, because you're
Yes.
stuck from the injury.
Yes.
Um, so, and this is once you heal those inner inner wounds and inner child wounds, you have an opportunity to be the adult. You have the opportunity to be the adult that couldn't, wouldn't, shouldn't be present, not really
Yeah.
shouldn't, but couldn't,
Yeah.
wouldn't be present to protect you. Um, so, inner child is just so important. And, if you're speaking about, clients or, the opportunity to work with people doing inner child work, you know, the other side of it is your body actually is holding that trauma,
Yes.
right?
And then the
Um,
triggers, right, as people call them, the triggers, um, what you're experiencing visually, auditorily, whatever senses that you are experiencing something that triggers that emotion that's trapped in your body, and
mhm,
you're reliving it all over again. And it is like concrete
absolutely.
slippers,
And
man.
then you
You're
keep
you're
looking
just
for it.
stuck, and
And then
it's
it becomes
habitual.
part of it, right?
Yeah,
Well, it becomes part of your DNA, right? And then you keep looking for those
it's
same things. There's your
expected.
picker.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
100%. So again, listeners, good news.
There
This
is
is
help.
all normal, and most of us have some level of it. But like I said earlier, right, if we can get to what it is and kind of pinpoint it, there's a lot of different modalities that we've learned. I actually was doing a mental and emotional release technique the other day with a client with some trapped medical trauma.
Mhm.
There are so many modalities. When you study at an accredited college of hypnotherapy for a year, and then you go back for a second year, you have logged significant hours and been exposed and instructed and trained in so many different modalities. And, I love that we continue to evolve as kind of this societal group of hypnotherapists of new modalities still coming today. I want to go back just for a second. You said something about perception, and I wanted to share a personal example, as I like to do. So I was already decades into self-help work, and um, we were all kind of getting older, and my sister, when I'm around my brother and sister, and my family, and especially like around my sister though, and I'm remembering something, and I'm
Mhm.
telling the story from my internal representation, my personal experience, my perception of an event that she was present in,
Mhm.
specifically and collectively, like her childhood and mine, same home, same, like nothing different other than she's the middle child and a woman, and I'm the eldest and a boy with a youngest as a brother. And
Mhm.
we had different childhoods. They're very
Mhm.
close to having a similar,
How,
because
what's the age difference? Sorry.
so I'm 3 years older than my youngest brother. So my mom literally had me, and a year and a
Okay.
half later had my sister, and less than a year later had my brother. They're what is called Irish
Yeah.
twins.
Yeah.
August 21st, my sister's born, and August 16th, my brother's born, not even a year later. So
Okay.
yeah, but that's what they did back then, right? In the
Uh-huh.
60s.
Hmm.
But the point I'm trying to make is that my sister would say, Don, that's not what happened. And she was negating my experience with her own.
Right.
And I,
Right.
I actually, I carried around a little bit of, I'm not throwing shade on my sister. I'm just saying I'm sharing my personal experience with that, was like it was negated. Like I was
Right.
wrong. That wasn't how I experienced it, or because I was talking about how I felt, typically. It's just interesting how, even in the same family, people have these different perceptions of their parents and their friends, and we all have that internal representation of people, places, and things that tend to kind of lead us and guide us. And then you add in some of these harmful experiences, these traumatic experiences that get lodged in the body. Like, oy vey,
It's true.
what do we
Um,
do?
well, I mean, your body holds that trauma. So,
Mm,
there is a book it's called The Body Holds Trauma. It's by Bessel van der Kolk.
Is that
Um,
and I had a book I was going to mention. Is that similar or the same as the body? Isn't there a book, the body keeps the score?
it's very similar to that.
Okay. Which would you
Um,
recommend for our readers to absorb and check out if they're interested in this topic, besides, working with a trained clinical hypnotherapist that knows how to properly conduct inner child work?
so I'm going to go with, Your Body Keeps Score is probably an easier read than Bessel van der Kolk.
What was the
Um,
title of the next one so our listeners can
The
catch it?
Body Holds Trauma by Bessel van der Kolk. Um, and he is the, I guess, what do they call it he's leading the way on polyvagal theory, which is your vagus nerve. Um,
Oh, okay. You didn't even put your blinker on, but now we're over here on this side
no, no,
road.
no, no, no,
No,
no,
I
no, no,
want
no.
you to go there. No, you went there for a reason. Let's
Well,
talk about that for a moment.
that polyvagal nerve theory is what is activated during PTSD or PTS.
Yeah,
Um, and that is fight or flight, autonomic system. These are all the things that go into
right.
that state where we're
Yes,
frozen, where we're reliving, where we're triggered, where all those things are. So, in order to do the work, you have to expect some of these things to happen.
right.
And your body is holding on to it. So, to know how to kind of maneuver through some of that trauma physically on your own is better than going in blind, going, I'm going to fix it all. No, you're
Right.
not. Not today,
Yeah,
because it is huge. You're talking about
right.
a vast majority of your time before you're 20 years old. So to really be working through inner child, your nervous system, your your history as a human that
Mm.
you know, this is why I'm saying there you might want to pay attention to these books and read them because it's
Yeah.
it's going to be
Especially if you're
beneficial in your
connecting
growth.
with this topic and you're
Yeah.
like, I think
What the
they're
hell do
talking
I
to me
do?
today. Like,
Right.
and there's
Whoops.
a collective me out there.
There is.
Yeah.
Because we all have it.
Uh, well, thanks for all that. That was a
Yeah.
good
Sorry.
little detour on the
It's
same
all right.
path. Let's
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had another thought. I'm going to put our websites in the description of the posts for whether you're listening to it on Apple or Spotify, or if you're watching us on YouTube. I'm going to have our website links in there. And then I also am going to go one step further, and I'm going to put in links to these books.
Oh,
Because if
wow.
we're going to start recommending stuff,
These are great books.
we should link. I
Absolutely.
mean, I kind
Absolutely.
of blew it on the maybe I should add it now, but I wonder if in our podcast like portal, there's got to be like a resources where I can put the like books that we recommend, and as we
Well,
kind of go
you can
through,
pin the comment on YouTube. I know that.
there you go. Because there's the what to say when you talk to yourself book is probably
Hmm.
one of the, if you're going to work on your inner child, your inner voice, that's one of the self-help books that I've used that I absolutely 100% recommend. What to
Hmm.
Say When You Talk to Yourself by Shad Helmstetter. So I'm going to link
Yeah,
that in there too.
absolutely.
Love it. So we're so glad that you're all here. I mean, the subconscious listeners
Mm.
that are out there are growing week over week, and people are commenting and talking to me about it offline. And so we invite you to comment on our posts, questions, wonderings, suggestions. You never know. Actually, I think one of our first episodes, we had a listener. One of the first five, one of our top five,
Hmm.
who asked a question that kind of got turned into a part of the next episode that we shot. So we encourage you to do that. This is from us for you, but for you to come back to us. It's not a one-way
Absolutely.
relationship.
No. Nope. We're putting it all out there.
That's
We're
right.
open for suggestions and comments
Yeah.
and questions. And that's how we learn, and that's how we grow. Yeah.
Bingo. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
So when I said, I've just recently there one of our fellow graduates from around the year that you and I graduated, maybe the next, this guy Chris, he's focused on this kind of relationship healing, and I know it
Mm-hmm.
all hinges back down to the inner child work that he's done, and
Mm-hmm.
then now shares that with others. And so I'm curious about, because I know that this is a long-standing mantra for a lot of people, men and women.
Mm.
I typically hear it from women that their picker's broken. And I was commenting on a thread the other day about somebody talking about their picker being broken. And I'm like, it's not actually true. Here's my opinion. I want to hear yours after. I'm gonna give my opinion, that it's not about your picker. It's about you. First of all, yes, of course, the picking comes from that which is it deep down inside of you, right? That magnetic pull, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just always attracting the wrong people at the wrong time. Like, and
Keep
then
saying it.
saying that is another like horrible mantra to keep doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So again, back to Shad, right? Like, be really careful what you say to yourself because you're listening. That self-talk is big time. So not only is my inner child influenced and injured from others' words and actions, but then my own perpetuating it. So my experience is that when people are able to kind of, I hate to say fix, but face and maybe do some healing with their inner child, that all of a sudden they're a little less likely to accept gaslighting. They're a little less likely to be, what's that term that you're just dying to talk about? What's
But it's funny.
your personal example of your inner child as far as relationships go? A narcissist. I was leading the
Oh,
witness. Yeah.
oh, yes.
You
Oh,
know,
yes.
those
Then
people.
those people, yes, I know a few narcissists.
I'm very
Yeah.
subtly approaching your inner emo, and your fizz was like, what is he talking about?
It's true. It's true. I was fizzing out on you there for
Rarely
a
ever
second.
happens.
I know. I know. It's fun. It's
Just a
fun when
little
it
hypno
happens.
humor, kids.
I have no humor. That's funny. Um, yeah, narcissist. Hmm.
Yeah. So
Oh.
it's not so much that you're broken. It's just that your vibrational energy is attached to that hurt that's in your body.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then it just
Yes.
continues to play out over and over and over until you
Hmm.
either give up or change.
Well, I think I heard recently somebody say that you have to think greater than you feel.
Okay. Well, I think
That
I
way,
mentioned this last week, that I'm going back through Dr. Joe Dispenza's
I think that's where I
book.
heard it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably that because it's pretty amazing, having known and gone through the HMI experience and knowing that Joe Dispenza,
Dispenza.
Dr. Joe, has also gone through the same educational experience that you and I went through at HMI.
Hmm.
He's an HMI graduate. Um, I don't know if he's an award winning. I have to assume that he is, but I hate to assume. But you would
I don't
think
know.
he's, yeah, you would know. But the way that he has taken his education to another level and then integrated the chemistry of the mind and the body and the brain
Yes,
wrapped around what we've learned at HMI, it's just I'm seeing it through a different lens now, and
absolutely.
it's so incredible. I mean, every night when I'm reading, I'm like cutting and pasting little bits of wisdom and like just blown away that it's like I'm understanding it in a different way. And his philosophy and his what's the word when you you're not hypnosis is stuck in my head when you have you it's like part of your doctorate where you have this
Thesis.
thesis. Yeah, so his kind of thesis is that the body can actually change by the visualization and the imagining and the feeling of the new. You can recreate these habits in new
Well,
positive.
right.
Yeah.
Of course. Right.
But he talks about it from like a body chemistry and like he's using
Hmm.
like
Well,
really chemical like body composition like atoms and
oh,
nucleus.
yeah,
Like he's he's neuroscientist. Yeah.
exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, he is the one that said the body becomes the unconscious mind.
Mm,
And that one caught me. That one really caught me when I heard that, and I thought, oh wow, because it becomes this vicious cycle. Like you have this experience, you see it, and then you know it in your mind, in your body, and then the feeling and the emotion comes back out. So it's this vicious circle, and then we keep looking for those negatives. So if we're talking about children and their knowns
hmm.
are of their internal representation, their knowns of the things
Yes.
that are happening around them are
Mhm.
negative, they are then going to associate those things later on in their life to expect negative from these people. But that negative is comfort because they learned it at that young age.
Yeah.
So this is, the definite, part of, when you say picker, that's what I'm thinking
Right.
is happening with people.
Yeah.
Um, so the body
Absolutely.
becomes the unconscious mind and plays
Yeah.
out the play that we have going on in our subconscious mind.
So I brought up the, I work with men and women and so that picker thing is kind of a common theme. And then with the men, I tend to have like the father being proud of them kind of Trump. That's one of my big ones. So like any movie that Dennis Quaid did for like a good 20-year period he was always doing father son movies. I'm like sobbing at the end of these movies, and I just got done watching this amazing recanting of the 2023-24 NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, and of course my Panthers are in there, and there's this moment where Matthew Tkachuk, who's one of the leaders on the Panthers team, his father is a pretty famous hockey player himself, scored over 500 goals, not in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Keith Tkachuk never won the cup. So and his brother. So it's the same setup where he's got a sister and a younger brother, and his so I've got a sister and a younger brother, and my brother was always very skilled in any athletic. I mean, he beat me in everything. Like I always had to work twice as hard, but there's this moment where Matthew wins the Stanley Cup and he's able to raise it and his family's name. And I'm like literally sobbing during this part of the presentation. I mean, it's emotionally touching me because of the love for this sport and this team and that culture around the people. But then it's the father son thing where Matthew hands the father, like raising the cup is a big deal up over your
Mm.
head and kissing it. And so watching Matthew hand his father the Stanley Cup, which he was never able to raise himself, it was just straight to the heart. And so I'm tapping into that because I've had some glorious moments with my father, and my father has said things to me in my adult life. Um, and then towards the end of his life, when we were really having a really heavy, I don't know why I'm over here, Tina, but I am. So we're having this.
It's okay.
I was with him for the last few months, in and out of flying back to Florida as he was on hospice, and we had these moments where um, he told me how proud of me he was, and that he wishes that I was his father because his father died when he
Mm.
was very young. He wasn't really present, alcoholic, hockey player. And so, these moments that we connect to, they don't have to all be bad, right? There's goodness there. And so I am incorporating that into my morning and evening routines where I'm working on this manifestation of living in the most highest good of myself, right? Having done this inner child work, having done work on my childhood and my experience, my kind of perception of my experience, and you can tap into that's the feeling Joe was talking about, right? Dispenza
Hmm.
is
Yeah.
tapping into that feeling and connecting it to the thing that I'm working on
Hmm.
achieving and living and creating.
Hmm.
I don't know why
Absolutely.
I felt the need to share all that, but there you go. Sorry. Go ahead. Back to you,
Well,
Tina.
well, I was gonna, it's funny that you even came up with all of that, but I was thinking after doing some more research that, you know, men and women, they cope differently,
Yes.
right? Women have spa days and they have manicures and pedicures and they go see a therapist. And I think part of that for men really gets lost. I think it's kind of underrated for men. I don't think they have been taught that they could care about themselves in this kind of self care way. Um, and I just, while you were talking about this, is why it came up. Otherwise, I wouldn't totally bring
Yeah.
this up. But I think it's okay that men do this. I think it's something that they're vitally missing,
Yeah.
that it's essential. And I think that might improve some people's choices. Um, as far as, women or whatever, they'll see them as well cared for men that they
Yeah.
care for themselves. They're well rounded. They take the time. They learn the lessons. Um,
We are very gingerly heading off into a whole nother episode
it's
of
fine.
men and
It's
women
fine. That's
and
how we do it.
E and
This is
P
kind of,
model, right?
well, yes, but I was just thinking in
Yeah.
in a sense that, women are, you're always hearing these women talk about self-care, but do you ever hear men talk about self-care?
I
Like,
want to say
I
that it's been evolving. Okay. There is still the stigma of boys don't cry and the machismo kind of BS around what men
Mhm.
are supposed to experience. And then if you are someone that's in touch with their empathy and their feelings, and then you might be kind of pigeonholed as a certain kind of man
Mm.
that's not strong or not, we're so out of whack with our models and perceptions of each other. I'd like to think that it's evolving somewhat. I
I
know
think
that I'm
so.
evolving. I don't have, I was thinking about as I was having this huge upheaval today, that I was thinking about that I don't have a son myself. And there was a part of me that thought I was supposed to have a son to heal my relationship with my father by living differently with my son. I've instead done that with my daughters, but there's a difference with
There
the,
is.
the son and the father, and the son and the daughter is and this and the father, and I'm forever grateful for my daughters. I couldn't imagine life without them, and I've been able to mirror to them, right, this big, strong, funny, sarcastic, silly, emotional father of theirs that I
Mhm.
get the eye rolls when I because it's just like it can be a little much sometimes, and that's okay, right? But I've taught them that it's okay to emote.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately, but again, I'd like to say that, the baby boomers kind of like tiny bit of evolution to the Gen Xers. And then I feel like the Gen Xers started to what you're disagreeing already with go
No,
ahead.
no, 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 no. I was just thinking, like,
For
I
those of you
can.
that aren't watching, you're listening. Tina was making like she's famous for her faces, especially on Zoom.
It's true.
She's kind of looking at me like, "What are you talking about, dude? Where are you going?"
Well, I was thinking, like, you were saying the Gen Xers, and I was thinking about what you just said about, fathers and sons, and I had a little different experience. I had a pretty strong mom, and her famous saying was, "Take it like a man."
Mm. So you were connecting with me and having your own experience in the moment. That's what I was
Of
seeing.
course,
Okay, all
of
right,
course.
it's
I was
okay.
I was just thinking that, like, oh, I mean, my I guess she's a no, she's more of a silent. Well, it's 1940. She'd have been 80 here, 84 years old. So I
Okay.
don't know, what is that, boomer or is that silent generation? She's right there on that cusp, I think.
What
Um,
is technically before the baby boomers?
the silent generation.
She could be. I don't know when the boomers
I don't,
began.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not
I know
really
they end
sure.
in like the early 60s is when the boomers end and the Gen Xers take over, depending on who you're asking and what website is
Right, of
claiming
course.
to be the authority.
Of
And
course.
listen, just so you know, from somebody that's on the cusp, Gen X is inside of you. It's not a number.
It's true.
You drank
But
from
she was,
a hose outside, you might be Gen X.
it's true. It's true. If you were told to be home when the streetlights go on, you
That's
might be
right.
Gen
You might
X.
be Gen X.
But she was the tough one where she was like,
Yeah,
take it like a man. What are you crying for? Stop crying. Um, you know, don't ever let them see you weak. Don't ever let them see you need. Like, and that's a very masculine role for.
right.
And my dad was with me the kinder one. Like he was the sweet one. Um, but tough, but tough,
Mm,
but tough. You know,
yeah.
he was. So I didn't have that. And funny that my brother and sister had different experiences. They definitely experienced that whole like, mom is nice. I'm like, no, she's not. She's tough.
Each child
So
has their own experience with their parents, as
yes,
evidenced by my brother and sister. My sister and I probably have more deep conversations than my brother and I. My brother and I kind of go in and out of those. We tend to kind of stick to what we stuck to with our father, which is sports.
right, right.
So it's just easier, it's more comfortable. But my brother was going through his own stuff this year, and because he knows I work with people as a hypnotherapist, and I have a very therapeutic approach to helping people in general, he was open to my thoughts and guidance around seeking external help for his own kind of uh, I don't want to air my brother's laundry, but so it was nice to just be connected to him in a different way than we typically are. And then
Hmm.
sharing this year technically, the Stanley Cup victory, it was pretty incredible as well. So yeah.
Right.
But we
That's
all
awesome.
have our own experiences with our parents. That's the point, right? Because everybody has their own individual
Mhm.
representation of what life was like with
Absolutely.
thoughts and feelings and interactions and words and. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so the self-care for men,
Yes.
I think it's important.
I love self-care. I post it. I'll take a picture of my feet in a little bath when I'm about to get a
Pedicure.
pedicure.
You and
Yeah.
Chef.
I promote self-care for men. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I
I
think
would
it's
be
needed.
considered, I think the term was metrosexual. I mean, my hair's a little out of control today, but you'll if you watch the podcast on YouTube, you'll notice that I'm pretty well put together for every episode. It's just my
Walking in.
yeah.
I get it. No, I mean it, so that's, I think the self-care is super important, no matter what
100%.
that is for you. And
Yeah.
I think it it's not represented enough. But hey, check this out. Like, if you're in Hollywood and you look at a lot of Hollywood stuff and you see these men that are so well put together, that's because they're actually taking care of themselves. So it's okay. Even the football players and basketball players and
Yes.
baseball players, they all
Yes.
get pedicures, they all get massages, they all take care of themselves. They're not walking around like, you
Yeah.
know, you know, Bigfoot.
No. I don't know. I just imagined like claws for toenails.
Exactly. And they're not shaved
Oh,
down. Like,
no.
come on. Everybody does it.
Uh,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, so body's keeping score.
Yeah.
And there
Self-care,
are,
so important.
yeah,
So,
yeah, because your
so
body, so take care of yourself.
this self-care topic, I really feel like that's another episode in itself. Um,
Yes.
so I'm like literally writing down self-care and circling it.
Hmm.
Um, but I want to go back to a thought I had around it's kind of backing up a little from this self-care topic and more so about me now asking you as a clinical hypnotherapist. We usually don't talk about this part of our experiences with each other, but I'm just curious, like when do you start inner child work with somebody that's a client?
Day one, I'm paying attention for it.
Not, nope, not,
So hold
not
on,
pay
I'll finish the
attention. Like
hold on, I'm going to answer you. Hold
what
on.
session are you introducing an imagery journey that begins the process of healing the inner child?
So, session most common is the third section.
They're what?
The third session,
Third.
because
Okay. Thank you.
yes, the
Okay.
third session. Because the first one, they're going to come in and do that first session, right?
Yeah. Okay.
That's run of the mill. Second session's about what they think they're coming in for. And usually in that conversation, it will show.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and then I usually start by the third, if not that second one, depending on what they come in for.
Yeah.
You know, if it's anxiety and you want to find the root of the anxiety, you got to go back. Like, so, um,
So I
yeah.
use a service that tells me what people are interested in. So I have an idea so that when I
Mm-hmm.
do the consultation conversation over the phone, just it's just one of my kind of super skills
Yep.
of figuring out where people really want to start. And like this new client from yesterday talking about all sorts of things that you could literally like come up with a list.
Yes.
But um, I tend to lead with the thing that they always bring up first, which is typically anxiety.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think we both have an atypical standard first session. There's a lot of information that we cover in a first session. So there's that suggestibility questionnaire. And we're really, for me, I look at it the same way that we're setting kind of in motion this starting block, like, the checkered flag to start the
Mm-hmm.
process.
Right.
And
Agreement.
what I've told them I'm going to do, and what I do in my 136 model that I've talked about, like I'm going to give them tools in that first session for self-care.
Yeah.
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's the loop back to the connection is self-care for
Yeah.
the mind, right? Because
Yeah.
there are ways that you can interrupt that fight or flight and bring yourself back into a parasympathetic feeling of normalcy and calm. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
I was just curious about, well, I don't think we've ever talked about specifically with inner child when we would introduce. So typically, if I hear about it, like I heard about it yesterday, I still won't introduce it in session one. We'll talk more about it
Mm-hmm.
and I'll start to poke around more. But then
Mm-hmm.
potentially session two or three is where I would reintroduce it, depending on what comes out of the conversation in our first official session. So we're on the same
Mm-hmm.
page. Imagine that.
Imagine that. Visualize. Imagine. Yeah, it's usually that third session.
Yeah.
I The other one that catches me is past life, when they want to do past life because they're trying to figure out why they are a certain way. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. Let's do these sessions first, and then we'll do past life.
It's like you're reading
Um,
my mail somehow because did I mention this to you? Because like that same new client yesterday was also talking about past life and trying to figure out because I think I mentioned it earlier in this episode that, she's trying to figure out where's it all stemming from.
well, let's clear
'Cause
this
it could
up.
be just in her lifetime, but it also could be,
Yeah, I
systemic
mean,
back.
you're carrying cells from your mother and your grandmother, and emotional intelligence and the universal and the collective consciousness. Like,
All my relations, I like to say. Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
all of those things. So it doesn't matter, I mean, we have stuff and we got to work through it, and you know, um, it's just that's where you have to work backwards.
No wiser words were said. You just got to work on it.
You just got to work on it. Like
Yeah,
it's
just
true.
start already.
Just
Woo.
start.
Yeah.
Just do one thing different. Change the scenery and the landscape.
And in the spirit of self-care, that one thing could simply be asking for someone like Tina or myself for help
Absolutely.
and get to
Because we're here.
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
don't know. That
Yeah.
feels like a good place to end. So, I just for those of you that are listening only and not watching and aren't on a computer where you can see the information about our website. So, Tina's website is her name, Tina Orlando Hypnosis, all one word, .com. And
Hmm.
mine is I've got this 360 thing, right? Because I'm all encompassing 360hypnotherapy.com. So you can
Mm.
get in contact with us there. You can look up some of these different modalities and certifications that we both have, and you can reach out to us for help. That's what we're here for,
Absolutely.
right?
That's what we do.
Um, so, any closing thoughts?
Mm.
I know it feels
No.
like it's been
No.
said. Yeah,
Yeah. I think I said everything this time,
yeah. So
at
I
least for this.
think just another simple reminder to remember to like this video, follow us, subscribe to us, and feel free to share this with someone that you think would benefit from it. And then again, we invite you to leave comments, questions, wonderings that could very well turn into a new episode. So, um, last thing, our subconscious is listening. I mean, our subconscious is speaking. Are you listening? That's the
Are you?
question. Yeah, I
Mhm.
am.
I am.
All right, Tina. Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.